everybody, and welcome to Countdown to Kick-Off as Manchester United face Rangers, and new signing Leny Yoro is with the squad. Whether he gets any minutes is yet to be seen, but I have a feeling he will. Starting lineup coming shortly, I think, probably about 10 minutes. You expect to get it an hour before. I am joined with Kev for the second pre-season game. Kev, it's great to have you on. It feels like it's been a while.
It has been a while. Good to be back in the hot seat. And, well, obviously building up to, there's no such thing as a friendly, is there? There's so many great twists. You've obviously mentioned Yoro coming in. That's one that I'm sure everyone will want to see. But there's loads of players that you're looking at and thinking, you know, big season, massive season ahead. Who wants to, you know, pull on that shirt? So I'm excited for it. Yeah,
it's just been announced as well that Leny Yoro will wear the number 15, which we all thought was going to happen. We've seen that a lot, but Vidic's number.
Vidic's old, wow, yeah. What a shirt. Well, if he does half of, or achieves half of what Vidic did, you know, in that shirt, he'll have had a good career at Manchester United. But yeah, big shirt to fill, but just so much potential.
And going against Rangers as well, Kev, I mean, what do you think about that? Because Rangers obviously such a big team in Scotland. I mean, it'll be a tough test for this squad of players, I feel like. Obviously, you want to win every game, but the main thing is, you know, getting the fitness up and getting the players, you know, back into shape for the start of the season. What do you think about our competitors today, Rangers?
It's well, it's a competitive game. Like I say, there's. You look at the Rosenborg game, you know, the tackle that went flying in on Casemiro, and you think, you know, it's. You can't talk these games down too much. Yes, it is mainly to do with getting sort of minutes, getting that kind of game time and stuff. But yeah, you want to see a competitive kind of edge. You know, Erik ten Hag brought the players out, didn't he? Or at half time, he kept them out, so he gave them a bit of a dressing down. He obviously wasn't happy with, you know, what he's seen.
Sorry, what did you say then?
Against Rosenborg, when he kept them out at half-time.
Oh,
you know, they didn't go into the changing room. So from Ten Hag's perspective, you know, he's taking it serious, and so he should, because we've had, you know, previous pre-seasons, we've not hit the ground running and taken that into the start of the season. But the major thing at the minute is Manchester United kind of acting as they should, as a big club. Getting these players in now, pre-season, you know, getting a pre-season under the belt it's a major thing, because for so long we've gone into the start of the season still chasing players, you know, and adding players at that time. To get them into the squad now, integrated, get to know the teammates, the methods and the way they're going to work is huge.
Massive. And you know what? It's actually refreshing. I mean, we've got loads to talk about on today's show. We're going to get polls up, get some interaction going. So get your comments in the chat. Any super chats we will bring into the show. Be interactive. We've got Sancho to talk about. You know, he's back and he's with the squad. We've got Yoro to talk about. We've got Mason Mount to talk about. We've got loads of different players to talk about. Potential new incomings. What do we think about, you know, the transfers so far? Because obviously, Kev, you haven't been on in so long.
Yeah.
But the fact that Ten Hag actually has a player in the door for pre-season in Yoro, someone he actually gets to work with for a few weeks before the season starts, is crucial. Because we've not had that United for such a long time. Like, it's always late signings and trying to integrate them at the start of the season and then off the pace, and it just puts you on a bad foot. But Yoro, obviously, he's going to need it. He's 18 years old. He needs that time with the manager. He needs that time with the team. Literally signed him on, what was it, Wednesday, straight into the squad, and maybe we'll play minutes today, and he'll get a full pre-season out in America as well.
It's just, Yoro is just a statement signing. I said to you before off air, the fact that I think it's triggered so many rival fans tells you everything you need to know, and people will talk it down, and you'll get the Scousers, you know, going, we didn't want Yoro anyway, and all, and yeah, you did. You know, he's chosen Manchester United, and regardless of what anybody says about the fact that he wanted Real Madrid, you know, we could have some serious good years out of this lad. And you look at the age that he's at, and this is where it bucks the trend. You know, previous Real Madrid players we've signed in Varane, your Casemiros, some people will say the better years were kind of behind, and we've got a player now that potentially, you know, in the next 5 to 6 years, you know, could be labelled as, you know, the best central defender in world football. That's the ceiling's there for him. You know, it's up to him now. He's got the platform at Manchester United, and I don't read too much into the negative side of, you know, people saying, oh, in 4 or 5 years he'll end up at Real Madrid. You know, possibly, but at this moment in time, you know, we'll get 4 or 5 really good years out of him at Manchester United. if he does move on, he moves on. You know, who doesn't? Cristiano Ronaldo come to Manchester United, signed a new contract and only stayed another year. It was just to ensure that Manchester United got a fee. I think deep down we always knew that he wanted to go to Real Madrid. The same way that Manchester City fans maybe with a Haaland, you know, he's not going to stay at City all his career. You can't look at it negatively. We've got to look at it and think, what a player. He signed a big contract. We've tied him down, and it's up to the player now. You know, the ceiling's there. You know, can he reach it?
Huge coup for Manchester United. And
It is huge.
That should be a nod. Yeah, okay, we paid probably a bit extra from them than what maybe we should have done. But like you said, if he fulfills the talent that is there and fulfills the potential that is there, nobody's going to be talking about that price in a few years' time. And the great thing about him is he's 18. What, in 5 years' time? He's 23 still.
Exactly.
And
he's
the
not
price
28.
tag then is even bigger than what it is now.
He's not 29.
Yeah.
And if we're looking at a football club being run well, we've just signed a player that a lot of clubs were chasing, a huge talent. And if it is in the future, again, I don't want to talk negatively. He's not even played for United anymore. But people are touching on this thing that he was pushed towards United. You know, he didn't want to go. It's rubbish because they're acting like a big club. When they put the bid in, you just sensed that under this regime now that Manchester United would not have done that unless they got some kind of encouragement from Yoro's side that he wanted to come. Yeah. Fair enough, the previous regime, you Woodwards, Arnold, they would have just gone in straight away. We'll give you 70, we'll give you 80, you know. And if they got word that he didn't want to go...
We would have been chasing Brantford all summer and ended up paying 75 million to Everton on deadline day, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we would have done under the old regime. But Yoro, like we heard, we were working on it even towards the end of the season. Managers had several conversations with him. Yeah, okay, it took a while to come to his decision, but it's because he had so many clubs after him. And to be honest, it wasn't as if like he wanted to go to, you know, a Liverpool. Like Liverpool were in, he didn't go there. It's not as if he wanted to do that. Like he wanted to go to Real Madrid, which is winning, and is one of the biggest clubs in the world. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but Manchester United, you can tell like he's buzzing to be here. He wouldn't be signed if he wasn't. And I think he's going to have a good career here, especially because Erik ten Hag's got such a reputation of building up young talents. Like he's another golden boy. He was a golden boy last year. I mean, it's exciting. And I think that's a good route that Ineos is going down because what is Ten Hag good at from what we've seen? Working with young players. Yeah. So to have that young squad that is willing to work under a disciplinarian such as to Erik ten Hag. Like we know Erik ten Hag has had a couple issues with maybe more senior players. You know, we've heard about the fallout with Ronaldo is for everyone to see. You know, there was maybe something with Casemiro towards the end of the season, maybe. I think that's been put behind us now. There was a little murmur about maybe something with Varane, but they got over that quickly, and Varane was excellent for us last season when he did play. Yeah, really? Rashford potentially. So you've heard that, but with younger players, he's excelled them, he's got the best out of them. So you've just signed Xerxes, young player. You've just signed Yoro, only 18. Like, Erik ten Hag is obviously got a good track record of working with these younger players, so I think it aligns really well with the vision of where we're going and the project that we're on. And Ten Hag's actually he's come from the Daily Mail. He said, in terms of scouting and recruitment, a lot has been taken away from me. And there was more quotes this morning from him talking about how he still has, you know, a say, and of course he's involved and he has to approve these things. And, you know, he's well in on the Xerxes deal, speaking to the player a lot. Same with Yoro, speaking to the player a lot, selling them the project. But in terms of recruitment, a lot of it's been taken out of his hands, and it's being done by people who have good track records in that area, and that's their niche. Yeah. Which is a good thing for Manchester United, would you say? And
it's a great point about the younger players. You can obviously sculpture them into what you want. You know, like Yoro now will come into kind of Ten Hag's way of thinking. And you look at maybe the three kind of standout players last season were all young lads. And what Ineos are trying to build now is obviously bringing that kind of age bracket down, the average age across the squad. But you look like a Mainu, Garnacho, probably Højlund as well to an extent last season. Three kind of standout players in what wasn't a great season across the line, but they're players again, like Mainu bringing him in, Garnacho, and they're young, they want to listen, and that's Man United's been built on this for years. You know, going back to the Busby Babes, it's nothing new, but when you've got lads like that will come in, They're obviously up for it. They know what it is to kind of wear the shirt.
Hunger's there as well.
Yeah.
Hunger's there.
And you had it with the class of 92, didn't you? Every one of them players always say that they would have ran through brick walls for Sir Alex Ferguson. You need that element in your team.
And I think that's what Ten Hag's trying to reinstill. He's trying to reinstill that culture. And to be honest with you, you can't fault what he's doing with the young players. Obviously, we'd like to see a bit more of Ahmad. Maybe we'll see him today. He did travel. We'll talk about that in a second, actually, because we'll bring in Sancho. Wayne Finnegan says, yes, Kev, you're legend. That T-shirt is class. Yeah. I agree. I wish I wore a T-shirt that says boiling.
I know.
Absolutely boiling in Manchester. I don't know. Wherever you are, how's the weather?
United Stand merchandise. There's that was a great plug there, wasn't
really
it?
Good plug.
Yeah. Get on the website or whatever it is. I don't even know. You'll find it.
You're
gonna look like Kev.
It'll be linked in the description.
There
down
you
below.
go.
Sandeep Patel says Kev is Bronn from Game of Thrones.
Oh, here we go again.
You've watched Game of Thrones?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you've not? You need to watch it. I can kind of see the resemblance a little bit.
I'll look this one up later on. Don't worry.
We're off. I feel like there's like a slight, but it's not major.
Yeah,
it's not major.
It's not Ben White.
Yeah, it's not quite Ben White. I'll leave that.
I need to shave this one off.
Nah, hilarious. But Kev, team news should be coming out in a second. But I just seen a super chat that made me nearly want to throw up. Can someone remove that, please? Please. But yeah, please remove that. Thank you very much. So. Anyway, Kev, moving on. Sancho.
It wasn't to do with me, was it?
No, it wasn't. It was to do with me this time. It was to do with me. It was to do with me this time, actually. A lot of people asking what channel is the match on? MUTV. On MUTV, so you can go and watch it on there. From what my knowledge is. But Kev, Sancho, he's back. He's training. He's with the squad. Feels like he's going to be part of the team next season. Let's be honest. I don't think anyone's coming in to buy him. What do you make of that? What do you make of the Sancho situation? And do you think he'll just come back in like nothing's happened, or do you think Ten Hag will leave him on the bench a lot? How do you think it's going to go? I'm
going to look at this totally different, because when I heard it, I just think that it's such a clever move by the club, in the sense of I'm not 100% sure that he's a player that I can't imagine for a minute. Listen, if they have shaken hands and let bygones be bygones or whatever, let's go into the new season, I'm a bit more sceptical, and I think that the way that the club's being run now, although there's been not much interest in him, obviously I think Dortmund would have taken him back, but on loan, which again tells the story of...
That's taking the mick out of us.
Exactly, yeah, because you're running down his contract again another year, and you're going to get into that territory where you're going to lose a player that you've spent, 70-odd million on for free. And this happened with Paul Pogba. It's happened in the past where United have lost players. And the Sancho one, I just think, PR-wise, it's a great move. And listen, he might come into the team, but... when you haven't got that rift, other clubs can't exploit that then, can they? And come in and 100%. Say, you've got a player that's on your hands, you clearly don't want him, the player don't want to be there. And
he's no longer an unusable asset.
It adds a little bit of value to him now. If United can paint this picture that all is forgotten, he's back in the team, and he might fight his way in. I'd love to. He's certainly... footballing-wise, he can do it. We have seen him do it.
Got some news.
Go on.
The new signing, Leny Yoro, starts.
Woohoo!
Straight in there. I thought he'd come on at half-time.
That makes it really, really interesting now to watch. How could... Friendly. There's no such thing as a friendly.
I genuinely thought he would come on at half-time. So, wow. Do you want to know the lineup?
Go on.
Sorry to cut you off there,
No.
because you were right about Sancho. Oh, Sancho starts as well.
Wow.
So when Eric Ten Hag said he's drawing a line, he's drawing a line. Yeah. And you know what? We're moving forward. And I'll read the lineup and then I'll say. So it's Onana in goal. You've got Wan-Bissaka, Sam Murray will be playing fullback again, and Evans, and who's the other? I'm trying to look at how it'll kind of line up in terms of... I'll just read the team and then we'll kind of work out how it'll line up. So you've got Onana, Wan-Bissaka, Murray, Evans, Mount, Collier, Wheatley, Yoro, Ahmad, Casemiro and Sancho. So I suspect it will be Onana in goal, Wan-Bissaka right back, Murray left back, Evans and Yoro centre-back partnership. You've got the youth and you've got the master in Evans. You've got Yoro at 18.
What's the age difference
and
between
Evans
them?
At, 35, 36? Love that. Your midfield, I assume, will be Casemiro, Collier and Mount. And then your front three will be Wheatley playing up front. I suspect Sancho off the left and Ahmad off the right.
Yeah.
Pretty decent.
Good balance to it. Yeah. I'm interested to see how Wheatley gets on. Obviously, the main headline is Yoro starting, because I think we're all excited about that one. But a nice game for him to come in. What an experienced player to be kind of lining up next to in Johnny Evans as well.
I think it really does show as well how much Ten Hag rates Collier, because he's put him in there over Hannibal. Hannibal's on the bench. Collier's in there, and he played really well in that second half last week. He was the standout player, really. And, you know, he's the one to keep an eye on this season in terms of the youth.
Yeah.
I think he's the one that will be coming through. Ten Hag demanded he was there at his contract signing. He was speaking to him after the FA Cup final last year. He really does look like he rates him, so definitely keep an eye on Collier in the midfield there. And Wheatley as well, playing number 9. He's one to watch this season. That's
the pathway now, is that these younger players that are starting to break in, being given a chance. You look at what Kobe Mainoo did for Manchester United last season, and that's the dream for these lads now. But they can see that pathway to the first team. If they perform and do the business, there's a place for them at Manchester United. You know, certain other clubs, you don't have that pathway. You know, and players in the reserves or whatever it is, the kind of youth teams will look to leave certain clubs because they don't have that pathway. They won't have a manager who looks into the youth. You know, I know you can kind of mention Manchester City as that. You know, people will throw the argument of Phil Foden. There's a few players recently that have kind of come through, but they're not notorious for it. You know, they've not built it on that. They prefer to go out and splash money, whereas United are just getting that mix right at the minute. And you can't beat, like I say, having a young lad who's come up through the ranks representing the club, because they get it.
It's going to be interesting seeing Jadon Sancho starting a Manchester United shirt and playing a Manchester United shirt, isn't it?
Is he putting him in the shop window, or what do you actually think that you can see him?
I think he'll stay. I don't think anyone's going to come in for him. But what I will say is, what I was going to say before is, I don't like the way Sancho went about things last season. I really don't. I did want to sell him. Hold my hands up. I did want to sell him going into this window. If an offer was there now, I would still sell him. But if he, the transfer window closes and he's wearing a Man United shirt next season, I'm going to get behind him, and I hope he does really well.
Yeah, that's all you can do, isn't it?
Man United player. I want him to do well. Like today when I'm watching the game, I want him to do well. Because the thing is, for me with Sancho, I know he's talented. I know he is. Like, I've never ever said I don't think he's a good player. The issue for me is, has he got it in him to knuckle down, work hard, and have that mental ability to be that Manchester United player? I've not seen it so far. He's still young. This might be a massive learning curve for him this season. And we might see a rejuvenated Jadon Sancho next season. We'll have to see. But, I thought last summer in the pre-season tour, he was one of our best players. Yeah. He was playing false 9 a lot. I thought he was one of our best players, but, never came into fruition for him last season. Starting on the left today, his preferred position. Let's see what you can do.
The players that we've obviously signed this season so far, obviously we're still chasing players as well, are going to make Manchester United stronger without a shadow of a doubt. But, I mean, I was looking the other day, there's players in this squad that if they perform better than what they did last season, if they stay injury-free, are going to be like new signings. You've just mentioned Jadon Sancho. You've got Mount, who obviously had terrible injury problems last season. If he can hit the ground running, and start pushing for game time at Manchester United. Anthony, an indifferent season. If he did step it up, that would be like a new signing. Marcus Rashford wasn't a great season, on a personal level. You're already looking at 4 or 5 players. Luke Shaw missed towards the end of the season. You'd think that if
he missed majority of the season.
Yeah, he comes straight back in at left back and plays centre back as well. Already you're looking at 4 or 5 players there that if they stay injury free.
Martinez, we didn't really have him at all.
Exactly, yeah.
People think we did because he played the cup final, but we literally played.
We rushed him back big time.
I don't think he played more than 10 games last season. Martinez can't have done.
I'm not 100% on that, but
you can't have played many. Can't have played many at all. So
it was a bad injury, wasn't it?
But yeah.
The point is, there's so many players there that are actually still at United, where you look and think, if they step it up this season, in theory, Jadon Sancho as well, they're going to be like new signings for United. So it's, you know, as well as the players that we're adding to the squad, there's other players that can step up here. And, you know, it wasn't a great season. You know, when you look at the Premier, I know we won the FA Cup, which was a brilliant end to the season, but week in, week out, how many times on fan forums were we sat here and we just couldn't see what was going on. But from Ten Hag's perspective now, there's no excuses this season. You know, he is being backed. Yes, he's got this extra year added onto his contract, but the honeymoon period is over. We always said, you know, it's going to take a few transfer windows, this, that, 3 years, whatever. But he's not going to have many excuses now, especially with Ineos. You know, they're working with him, aren't they? That's the good thing. We've always said we wanted a structure. Lo and behold, that structure is now in place, and we're seeing the deals done as they should be, as they did in the days of Sir Alex Ferguson and David Gill. We're operating like a top club, and it's great to see.
We are.
And may it continue.
Literally, I can't believe this is us. You know, the way that we're handling things. And obviously we've got to talk the talk, got to walk the walk next season. Don't get me wrong, I'm not expecting us to challenge for the Premier League, but I can see the vision. I can see the project. I know the direction we're heading in.
And it's sad at the same time, because we used to be run like this. You know, there's kids of a certain age that won't even remember that. They'll just remember these days of us going out and spending stupid money on players where we didn't even need them, or whatever it was, to sell shirts. Or, you know, we did run like this. It's only because the club was neglected and, you know, football people were not in these positions. You know, they were almost kind of money men that didn't really understand football. And because it's been neglected for that long, it's almost like now, you know, we shouldn't really be in this position. A club the size of Man United, we shouldn't be, you know, applauding and our club's being... It should have always been like that. You know, any top club, this is how they operate.
Exactly, but
at the same time, don't get me wrong, I'm delighted.
We've got to give him credit for them coming in and doing that, because it's such a big step up already. But
in a short space of time, what they've done, and I was sceptical of Ineos. I think a lot of people were. They were calling him Spinios, and, you know, Jim Ratcliffe, you know, with the rap, you know, and all this. And I'm looking and I'm thinking, he's not daft. You know, he is a United fan. Yes, he is a businessman, but that's the main thing. Is that he's coming in, he wants the best for Manchester United, and that's what's happening at this moment.
Well, he's put the best people in place to do it, and that's what you get. It's amazing what happens when you actually put people who are best in class in their actual roles, and you get some.
It's no coincidence, is it?
Some competency going in.
Ashworth and Barada have barely had the legs under the desk for how long, and just look at the deals already. Xerxes. Yes, it was nailed on. We were going to do it. No drama. We've gone in, agreed the fee. Yes, it's been spread over 3 years or whatever it is. And that's what Manchester United will have to do. Yoro, again, they must have got encouragement. They've gone in, bang, the deal's done. They're just not messing about. And that's why it's great to see, because come deadline day, you know, once the season's kicked off, hopefully we won't be in that position where we're still arsing around, you know, at 12 o'clock at night and we're checking whatever the telly to see.
I think them days are long gone. You guys next, hopefully, as well, which could be exciting.
It's exciting, isn't it?
Mo says, football can be an easy game. Invest in young, hungry talent. It should be successful. Future is bright. Gerald Gregory, thank you for your super chat. And Gerald Gregory also has said, hi Beth, do you think we should keep Sancho and give him a chance, or do you think we should sign Xavi Simons? Come on, United. I don't see where Xavi Simons fits in our team, to be honest with you. I really rate him. Think he's a really good young player. Don't think he should be a priority for United just based off the squad we've currently got and areas that we need to invest money into right now. I'd be looking at midfield and left back personally, and another centre back before I'd go for a Xavi Simons, but definitely a really good young prospect for sure. And keeping Sancho, like I said, if a good offer came in, I would sell Sancho, but at the same time, I do think he'll stay, and you know, we've got to get behind him and hope he performs for Manchester United, because either he performs for Manchester United and happy days, and even if he performs for Manchester United and we still want to sell him, asset rises.
It puts the club in a good position. Yeah. But like you said before, it is purely down to Jadon Sancho now. You know, if he comes across that there's a lack of interest, and you know, he's not, his heart's not in it, or you know, maybe, you know, can the bridge be repaired? But, you know, will Ten Hag deep down really forgive him 100%? I don't know, but It's a clever play by the club because he'll still be in the shop window. And if he does perform for United and we get the best out of him, that's what we want.
He should be hungry to go and prove himself, in my opinion, and hopefully we see that. And I'm excited to see him play today, to be honest with you, I really am. Amad Diallo, though, Kev, and everyone in the chat, a lot of people worried about Amad's potential game time with Sancho staying, actually. And, you know, there's competition now. There's competition all around. But Amad, you know, started to get more minutes towards the end of last season. A lot of people thinking he should have got more minutes, but looked really good. And, you know, definitely another exciting young player to look out for this season. And I think should be really hungry as well to have a good pre-season, because this is his opportunity to get minutes, show the fans, show the manager why he should be starting. We think he should be playing more, obviously, because we've seen it in games like the FA Cup final against Liverpool. Like, he's produced really good moments for Manchester United in a short space of time. But pre-season, it's a really good opportunity for him to get himself in front of the manager and say, look, give me more time next season, I'm ready.
From Amad's point, I think he is at that point now where I think deep down he'll feel that he's certainly knocking at the door, and he definitely deserves more game time. The way he ended the season, you think of the game against Liverpool, the goal, and some people even thought it was quite harsh that he wasn't included, you know, in the starting 11 for the FA Cup final. It was a good end to the season for him, but there will come a point where Amad will probably knock on Ten Hag's door and say, you know, we don't know what's happened behind closed doors. Eric Ten Hag might have reassured him and said, you're part of my plans this season, but one thing's for sure, he should be. I think he was certainly underplayed. I think there was times when Garnacho was it looked very tired towards the end of the season, and he maybe could have rotated that. You know, there was a load of times, weren't there? We know that obviously Ricky was a big advocate for Amad getting more game time as well, which none of us disagreed with. I think we all sat, you know, on them fan forums and said he should be getting game time. And, you know, there have been stories, haven't there, that he's not 100% happy with, you know, his game time at United. But I like that. You know, he's not rocking the boat. It's not a... he's throwing his, what do you call it, toys out the pram, spat his dummy on the floor or anything. He's still going about his business. What that shows to me is that for a young lad, he's very driven and he wants to be playing for Manchester United. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, you just have to, there's ways and means of going about it. The only way he can do that now is by performing on the field. Give Eric Ten Hag, you know, no option other than to be playing him. Once you get in that team, you stay in it and you stay in there on, you know, performance, merit.
What is interesting as well is you've got Ethan Wheatley, who's obviously, you know, smashed it in the academy last year, had such a good season, looks like a really exciting prospect as well, playing up front in a strong team. And he's got, actually, either side of him, he's got two creative wingers, which is very rare we see that from Manchester United.
Spoiled.
You've got Sancho and Amad, who predominantly are the creative types of wingers and are going to, hopefully, given the opportunity, provide chances for Wheatley down the middle. And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because we're so used to seeing wingers that are just so direct, and that's great as well. But these two players are going to get their heads up and they're going to look in the box, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Absolute dream for a striker, that. To have two players like that. You look, and if you think you were going to mix that up, obviously I know Rashford's not travelled, but for the sake of an argument, you know, a Garnacho and a Rashford, players like that, like you've just said, are very direct. How many times, you know, last season where you were tearing your hair out watching Manchester United because they made the wrong decision. You know, at that split time, if they beat a man, they choose to shoot instead of cross and just not getting the head up. That's the one thing for me that sets a Jadon Sancho apart from the other wingers at United, because from what I can remember, it was a long time of last seeing him in a Manchester United shirt, was he will get his head up. You know, an absolute dream for, you know, he's Ricky's kind of player, isn't it? Because no nonsense, gives the ball easy, give and go, you know, makes the runs, he'll cut in at the byline and he will get his head up. You know, he's one of them. He doesn't strike me as a player that's in it for stats and the glory and that, but, you know, if we could add that to our game next season, it's a win-win situation for United and Sancho. But yeah, the wing play, you look at that today, and for Wheatley, it'd be an absolute dream because opportunities will be created for him.
What is interesting, Kev, is now 2 games in a row, in that left-back position, you've had Sam Murray start. And a lot of people were very, very excited about Harry Armas, young left back for Manchester United, and I think they should be, you know, great young prospect. But I think a lot of people expected him to be like the starting left back in the two strongest sides. But Murray's actually started both games. Maybe is he preferred? Armas, do you think, in Ten Hag's eyes? Because obviously you're going to play the player that you think, you know.
Yeah. In these games as well.
In the strongest side, he's picked Murray twice now, so it shows what he thinks about him as well. And that could be a name that maybe slips under the radar for a few people. But again, another exciting young prospect. I think he was on loan last year, but I had heard about him, and it'll be interesting to see how he does as well. Yeah,
just another one that has to
I think he's 19,
take his opportunity. Yeah, I think we know that's on the left-hand side.
Yeah, left back.
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, obviously, you would think that once Luke Shaw is back, obviously started for England in the Euros towards the end of it, but he would be, you know, the starting left back. But the one major thing that the issue we had last season was at left back, wasn't it? Because once Luke Shaw got injured, obviously we don't know what's happening with Malacia. It's been a real problem area. I know United have probably looked at maybe buying, but maybe Ten Hag's looked and thought, if I get Luke Shaw back, he's going to be the first team left back. But you need to manage his minutes. You know, he's not getting any younger. If you don't want reoccurrence of the kind of injury that he had last season. So having that youthful kind of prospect behind him, there'll be games next season where you should be able to, you know, rest Luke Shaw. We were never in a position last season to be resting players, were we? It was literally just what players could we get out on the pitch, you know, and it was just to have a strong squad, at least two very strong players for each kind of position in the squad, makes it very, very interesting, you know, and it'll make Ten Hag's job much, much easier as well. Also,
Murray obviously is senior to Harry Armas in terms of the fact he's 19, whereas Armas is, you know, 17 and 17 still really young, and he's got really, really bright future ahead of him. I think Luke Shaw said he was one to watch actually in one of his interviews. So exciting. We'll get to see him come on the second half. Obviously only 17 years old, so you've got to be patient with these sort of players.
Good endorsement if Luke Shaw is saying that. Then I
think a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I'll start him next season. He's 17. Yeah. Like, you know, give him a bit of a chance. Like, you need to, you know, see the development, and I think that this will be a really important part of his career, this pre-season tour, where you expect him to get a bit of game time here and there.
It's very rare that you'd see somebody, you know, that age, unless they're at the age like a Yamal for Spain, obviously turned 17 during the...
He's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. If you've got an insane talent like that, then there is that argument that you just cannot hold him back. You know, you think of a young Wayne Rooney scoring against Arsenal.
Rooney's a perfect example.
I mean, he was like a man trapped in like a child trapped in like a man's body at that stage. You know, he was playing that goal he scored against Arsenal, which really launched him into the kind of Premier League stratosphere, and everybody in world football was like, who is this lad? Sure, all the Evertonians knew about him years ago because he was scoring ridiculous numbers, you know, in the youth teams. They just knew he was going to be, and he did. You know, he signs for United at 18, you know, a massive, and he just wasn't fazed by it, Rooney. That was the stage he was born to do that. But at the same time, there's other players where you look and you think 17 years old is very, very young, unless you really stand out.
Especially nowadays. I feel like people come through a bit later nowadays, apart from obviously Yamal, who's like insane.
It's just insane.
Remember young Michael Owen? Like, that was crazy.
Yeah.
Like, there has been some special
But not many. You know, when you think back down the years, you have to be a very standout talent to be, you know, where you just think, I can't hold it. You know, even Ryan Giggs to an extent, when he started at United, you know, I think he was still doing his GCSEs, and like Yamal was during the Euros. You know, it's just crazy, but they don't come around often, but sometimes you just have to think, right, just get out there and do your stuff. You know, I can't hold you back anymore, just go out there. And there's something, when you bring through a youth player like that, there's a good rawness about them as well. They've not had things coached out of them. Some kids that come in, like you've just said, they seem to be, a bit later. They're almost like robots when they come in the team. You know, it's very rare. You just mentioned Michael Owen there. You think of World Cup '98. very rare now that you see a player get the ball and run half the length of the pitch, and score a goal. Now it'd
Rasmus did it last season.
Well, yeah. All right, you shot me down there. But,
No, I get what you mean.
It's rare when you see a 17, 18-year-old kid doing it, but it's refreshing at the same time because it's not this thing of you get the ball, you give it left and right, and you run. They're not like robots. Sometimes when you've got a kid at that age that's not the finished article, they're capable of just going out there and, moments of magic. Yeah, sometimes just have a pop or, have a shot or unpredictable. That's what they are, in a good way.
I just want to say as well, Yoro at 18 is a centre-back. He's crazy,
It's a big position, that, as well.
Centre-backs usually do come through, older. That's just, that's the way it is. It's one of them positions where usually, you have your best years as a centre-back when you become more mature.
Yeah.
So for Yoro to be doing what he's done already, only 18 years old, shows how special of a talent he is. United One says, what do you think is the starting front three this season? We'll talk about that in a second. Random Guy says, how well do you think Donny will do at Girona? I hope he does well because I feel bad for what happened to his career. Mr. Miracle says, Sancho looks good in pre-season but lacks drive during the actual season. Don't be fooled. He puts in more effort pre-season to seem better than he is. I don't think it's he puts more effort in pre-season. It's just we've always had, remember pre-season Pereira, the pre-season Perlos. You got to do it. The people are going to judge you ultimately. You can have a good pre-season all you want, and obviously that's what you want because you want to get yourself in front of the manager. You want to be fighting for that starting spot when the season actually arrives, but you will be judged based on how you perform in the big moments, and that's how.
It's up to ultimately, like I said before, it's entirely up to Sancho now.
Yeah.
And supporters will see through that. If he reverts back to the performances that's seen him kind of exit Manchester United, then you wouldn't be happy with that. But fingers crossed, it's win-win situation for United, I'd say.
Hopefully. I mean, Kev, who do you think the starting front three will be this season? The first pick of the bunch.
Obviously, Højlund is going to be up top.
Xerxes, though?
I think if you're talking, let's look ahead to, say, Fulham. If everybody's fit, first game of the season, I think Højlund would be up top. I think Xerxes would probably be on the bench. I think there's going to be this kind of period of, again, managing Højlund as well, who was injured towards the end of the season. So he never had that last season. I think we rushed him back, probably played through injuries. At least we've got cover there now. And so good cover as well.
You've seen with Højlund, though, as well. You've seen towards the end of the season, he did get dropped for, well, not dropped, but Ten Hag was preparing for the FA Cup final, and we knew we were going to play Bruno Fernandes as false nine, and Bruno Fernandes kind of took that false nine role on. He was absolutely excellent at it, I do have to say. And Højlund had to come from the bench, and I think he scored each time he came from the bench after a big drought. So it helped him build his confidence. So you have that option now where you can change it. I agree with you. I think Højlund starts the first game of the season, and I think it's his position to lose. Yeah. That's what I think it will be. Then, he gets rotated, Xerxes comes in, see how Xerxes does. Whoever performs better gets a starting spot. But I do think, based off last season, Højlund will start the season at number 9. He's going to get the number 9. And I think it will be Rashford off the left, Garnacho off the right. But I think the good thing is it'll be subject to change because, if Rashford doesn't perform again, there's wingers there that are going to come in and take your spot. Ahmad's there. Sancho's might be there still now as well. Anthony, we've not even spoken about him, who isn't yet on the pre-season tour, but will be there in America. There is competition. The
major thing at this minute is, people say, these games, these friendly games are just about getting minutes. And if I'm a player and I'm playing, I'm going on the tour to America and I'm playing, I'm putting everything into these because really the way the managers should work this is whoever now performs in these games leading up to the start of the season against Fulham, obviously you've got the Community Shield which you'd be looking ahead to and thinking, I want to be in that team. You should be in, like I always say, I know it sounds a bit old school, but purely on, if you're performing, you should be in the team.
What's interesting as well actually is obviously Garnacho's preferred position is on the left, so's Rashford's. That might be a bit of competition. If Ahmad starts to do well on the right, I think Ten Hag would play Garnacho if he had to pick Rashford or Garnacho on the left, just one. I think he would pick Garnacho, to be honest with you. But I do think Rashford will start the season off the left. And I think Garnacho will start off the right. We know he can play on both sides. But what is interesting as well is what was put out there quite a lot is United aren't just signing Xerxes to play striker. They feel Ten Hag sees him as a player who can play across the front three.
Yeah.
So you could have a situation where Xerxes and Højlund play in the same team, potentially.
Yeah.
I mean, I see him more as a number 9, and I think that's where he will predominantly play. But there could be a game where that does happen.
He seems very creative, doesn't he? So you wouldn't be surprised at all if there's one good thing. If you've got a player that can play kind of a multitude of positions, it's just another great thing for Erik ten Hag to have. You know, to have a utility player, somebody who can play across the front three. It just makes it a lot easier. I agree on the kind of Rashford, Garnacho. I think Ten Hag would probably, if he had to choose, would probably go with Rashford. But again, you know, that's another debate, because I mentioned before, if you can get Rashford anywhere near the season prior to kind of the last one, anywhere back on the goal trail, maybe putting in performances up in his levels, you know, again, that could be possibly like signing a new player.
Rob McCormack says Mount's going to be the player this season. Oh God,
another one that's a huge season for him.
United One says Rashford definitely starts. Jadon Sancho may seal the right wing. Nah, Garnacho will be starting.
And with, like you said before, we've not even mentioned Anthony. You know, where does he fit into all this as well? It's
God knows. We'll save that for when he actually is part of the squad. But in terms of Mason Mount, Kev, I want to ask you about Mount. Everyone get in the chat your opinions as well. Fabrizio Romano came out today confirming there's absolutely no interest in Manchester United of moving Mount on. He's an important player for next season. Obviously was unlucky last season, basically completely ruled out through injuries the entire season, which is disappointing. You know, you've just got the number 7, you've just joined United, you want to make an impact, but unfortunately just could not get past the injuries. This is a big season for Mason Mount. First of all, you've got to stay fit. Yeah. We don't want to have signed an injury-prone player. We're hoping last year was just unlucky and we can kind of ride that off, and he's got to stay fit. Second of all, I don't think anyone can tell you where he grabs his starting position in his team. So it's a big one for him to kind of put himself out there and prove he's deserving of the number 7 and, you know, make a good career for himself at United.
He needs to, he certainly needs to nail down the position, because I think a lot of people thought he might come in and maybe challenge Bruno's kind of position, or could he play in a midfield kind of 2, but it's so difficult. I can't really judge him because I've not really seen him play. Obviously, he had a good spell at Chelsea, and the injuries last season were just horrific. They were beyond kind of ridiculous at a point. And I know a lot of people have made a big thing about him getting the number 7 shirt. It doesn't really bother me at all, but yeah, like you said, what a huge season for him. I mean, really, I know he's been at United for a season, but from a personal point of view of his, he's probably almost thinking that he's just signed for United now. You know, and the hard work starts now. If again, another player, if he can have a good pre-season, hit the ground running, get into Ten Hag's kind of thoughts and that. But again, I mean, where would you look at him of getting into this team now? Obviously, the midfield area is a major one of look, you know, where they're looking to kind of strengthen. We certainly need to do that. But I don't know where he fits in, or does he become a kind of rotation player if Bruno has a rest? Or
I think it's super tough because Bruno plays every minute. That's probably his best position, and Mainu came through last pre-season has just absolutely smashed it out the park. Yeah. So you're in a situation where you can't get them 2 positions. Like, it's not. Bruno's our captain, plays every minute, and Mainu's just probably technically our best player. So it's like, it becomes a really tough ask. But like I say, there's so many games in a season. Bruno, as much as I love him, is my favourite player. He should be getting more rest than what he gets to keep him fresh. Mount, you know, it's a squad game. It's a squad game at the end of the day. Look at Manchester City. Look at their bench. Like, look at how many players have an impact. He can get plenty of minutes if he does the right things. I mean, he can play off the left and off the right as well if needs be, and he can do that quite well. And, you know, he can play.
He did that against Brentford, was it, towards the end of the season? Did he come on the left?
Yeah, he can, and he can play as an 8 or a 10. Predominantly, he's better as a 10, but he can play as an 8. So there is room for him there as a cover player, but he's got to work really hard to get himself into that team, and that's a situation you want to be in. Yeah. You want there to be competition, but I believe Mount is a good player, and I'm excited to see him progress in this pre-season as well, because I think a lot of people have written him off, but he was out of the season through injury. Hopefully he can stay fit through this pre-season and start well. You know, there's been players for Man United in the past that wasn't always, you know, a nailed-on starter that have gone down as really important players. So
yeah. It really is a big season for him, like you say. At the risk of repeating myself, it's down to him. It's interesting to see, but at the same time, I can't judge him because I've not really seen anything of him last season. You know, horrific injuries, but I'd like to see what he is about. You know,
I remember him at Chelsea. I remember him winning the Champions League with Chelsea, and I remember him being very good for them. So I'm excited.
You can't write a player off for being injured. No. If he'd have had a terrible season, then fair enough. You know, you could look at it, but no, you judge him on his performances, which we haven't seen much of. God, it's warm, innit, man?
It's absolutely boiling here. Interesting, coming out from Ty Marshall at the MEN, just backing up what came out earlier this morning from James Ducker regarding Martin Zubimendi from Real Sociedad. Manchester United are looking at Real Sociedad's Martin Zubimendi, and Manchester United are expecting one more midfielder to leave this summer, but bringing in a new player isn't entirely dependent on whether Casemiro leaves. Zubimendi, who we all know was excellent for Spain in that final against England and has had a really good season for Real Sociedad, has a release clause of around 60 million euros, I think, and could be a potential option to come in as a number 6 for Manchester United this summer. Super exciting, that.
Yeah.
Super exciting. In the Spain game, he came on for Rodri and bossed it.
Yeah. And they are big boots to fill, you know, to come in and be able to do it at that level. But, I mean, the midfield area, as I mentioned before, has become... It was only a couple of seasons ago, you know, we brought in Eriksen, Casemiro, and we're thinking, wow, you know, we've been... The Fred McTominay kind of thing had been broken up that we've been sort of watching over the years. And it did freshen up the midfield. But when you sign Casemiro on massive wages... he's had one good season at United, but I think it's becoming clearly evident now. I think if Manchester United could get rid of him, then they would, you know, cash in and take the hit, you know, and try and get rid of him. But the way that Ineos are working at the minute, they're getting the deals done, but equally as impressive is the outgoings as well. You know, to get so much done in such a short space of time. You know, you usually look and think it's going to take 4 or 5 windows to do this, but you know for a fact there'll be a few more outgoings, incomings. It really is a statement of intent at the minute. But obviously with PSR, you have to move these players out, so that they'll be actively, you know, whether it's a Wan-Bissaka, Scott McTominay's been mentioned, you know, and then Casemiro is the main one, because you look and think, really, unless it's a bid from Saudi, who's going to be paying 20, 30 million for a 32-year-old in Casemiro, who I think most people think his better days are clearly behind him. Yeah, sounds harsh, but it's got to be said, hasn't it?
Absolutely. I think, you know, the more we play Casemiro, I'm like, the more it's probably putting people off from buying him. So I'm like, no. Yeah. But
like it's 350 grand a week. You know, it's a huge thing if you can clear him off the wages, and it seems to be like just go younger then, isn't it? We need to build for the future, not for the short term. Get in the comments down below, would you rather sign Ugarte or Zubimendi? I'd be really interested to see what you guys think on that. Do you have a preference, Kev? Do you know what, either or? I know I'm sitting on the fence there saying that, but just we definitely need something in that midfield area. As you said earlier, Mainu has just... He deserves a good partner to be alongside him. Mainu is like the general. He's in that midfield saying, I've got this place, you know, who wants to come and join me? You know, the age he is, he was just so impressive. And if you can get somebody in next to him, you know, would be great. You need legs in there, definitely. 100%. Let's do a poll on it. Ugarte or Zubimendi. Let's do a poll. Let's see what you guys say. He's so split. What would be your preference? So split in the chat. He's so tough. That'd be a good, interesting poll. So tough. I really like Ugarte, you know, but I feel like he's not. I feel like the majority of football fans would say they prefer Zubimendi. I really do like Ugarte though, but I remember Zubimendi's performance and his own. Still fresh in the memory. I didn't watch loads of him. Obviously, at Sociedad. Like I would have watched Sociedad, but I wouldn't have been zooming in on him, so I wouldn't have like noticed him really. But yeah, it's only when you get linked with him that you think, oh, I better check this lad out. When I watched him for Spain, like, especially in that final, I thought he was so good. It's tough, but I think, personally, I think the midfield is missing what Ugarte can bring. Yeah.
that aggression, the energy.
I'm swaying towards that one actually now.
The aggression,
more I
the
think.
energy. I know Zubamendi's a brilliant conductor, taking the ball off the back four and bringing it out, but I think Mainoo's excellently good at that. He's really good on the ball himself, so to kind of pair him up with the energy and the aggression of Ugarte, I feel like could be a good fit.
And Ugarte as well. I mean, behind the scenes, it seems that the player wants to come to United. That is what we're hearing, and the fact that personal terms, once you start hearing things like that, won't be an issue, or he's actually agreed. This is how United are moving. You think of the lit kind of deal as well. It seems that they've already agreed personal terms, but they've not even agreed a fee with the club, which shows the moves that United are making behind the scenes. That they are getting a clear indication first from the agent and the player before they start negotiating and going in with the club, to try and get a deal done.
Ten Hag just said Rashford can't play because he's injured, but it's good to have Jadon Sancho back.
Yeah, he's talking him up.
They're back.
Yes.
They're back. How long will it take for another fallout? I'm joking. Hopefully things will be handled a lot better if that did happen. But
it could be that they might have.
I don't think they will. I'm hoping everything's turned a corner.
Yeah, I do. But at the same time, I am a bit sceptical where I think sometimes you just don't forget things like that, do you? And is this just great for the player himself and the club? Because if they can get him back playing, well, he is an asset, isn't he? As well as a footballer to United, that's the way they'll look at it. And they don't want somebody on the hands where a team can think, we can get him on the cheap here because he's had a falling out. It's publicly out there now that they've made up, they kissed and made up or whatever, and everything's hunky-dory and all that. We'll have to see.
Also, it depends what type of person you are. Are you a stubborn person? Do you let things go? I mean, I feel like me and you, Kev, are the type of people that just let things go.
Yeah, 100%.
So I'd be fine with it, but it just depends. Because I know people who can hold grudges for ages.
Yeah.
I don't get how you can be bothered with that.
No, life's too short.
Literally. Mike Hill says Ugarte is basically a Casemiro replacement. Zubamendi would be a Carrick type, so either is great as long as we get one. Yeah, they are different sort of players, 100% different sort of players that can bring different things. Ideally, I'd love to get both, but we're not in a position where we can get both.
God, imagine having a prime Michael Carrick back in that midfield.
Darren Mulaney says we need big performance from Sancho if he wants to stop at United. Liam Anthony says Mount is Bruno/Mainoo's cover, can play right wing as well. Thank you everyone for your super chats. How's the poll coming along on would you sign Ugarte or
Got to be close, this one.
Let's have a look. Takes a while for my
Can't imagine that it's going to be a landslide in favour of one.
Okay, so Ugarte is 65%.
Ooh.
So it's close.
Yes.
It's close-ish, but Ugarte is
still
leading.
Time to get voting.
And the reason I think that is because we've been linked to Ugarte for longer, so people have more chance to come around to the idea, research, look into it, get excited about it. And Ugarte is the more advanced one.
Yeah.
Like, we've agreed with Ugarte, we just need to agree with PSG. I think we will get Ugarte.
Yeah.
I have a strong feeling we will, but the fact we're in for Zubamendi as well could be pushing PSG to lower their asking price. Be like,
again, it's clever, I like it.
Like we did with Branthwaite. Okay, you're not going to come down your price. Right, we'll move on to someone else.
We've been bullied for so long in the transfer market. It's just that approach of being pure scattergun and going out, and you think of the deal for Anthony, and there's so many that you just look at and think, how are these ever kind of signed off? But for a fact now that they're looking at the player's age. Maybe they are, it sounds negative, but any kind of sell-on value in the future, will this player progress? And that's the route they're going down. That's the route that it should be. The days of going out now and getting a 29, 30-year-old player for 70 million, I can't see that getting signed off under this regime, because from Ashworth, Barada, Wilcox, whoever it's going to be, there's going to be a discussion around the table where they're going to look and go, OK, so 70 million for a 30-year-old, in how long do we think he's got left in him? What success can we achieve with this player in the team? You have to weigh it up and, the pros and cons. But what a statement signing, you sign Xerxes and then Yoro, 18 years old, it's chalk and cheese really from, the previous regime of, like Woodward and all that lot.
Well, Ten Hag said on Leny Yoro, it's exciting for him, it's exciting for us. We're so pleased to sign him. It's huge talent. We're really looking forward to working with him and building with him. So Ten Hag obviously rates him very highly, obviously does, like everybody does. But it's just class to me that, Martial, injury-ridden, there was no more use to get out of him. He's gone now, massive wages gone. You bring in Xerxes, who is also a facilitating striker who can play across the front three. He's good at link-up play, but also as a goal scorer as well. and he's a young, fresh
Yeah,
talent.
you've got something to work with and mould him into what you want. Yeah.
And then Varane goes, who I think Varane was quality, and I actually think he was underrated at Manchester United. I think he was our best centre-back. I think he was really good. But
I was gutted. I thought we could have got another year, if you could have agreed, but obviously.
Massive wage, injuries, and then you bring in the new Varane, Leny Yoro,
It is.
18.
Because at the time when Varane went to Real Madrid, what was that? Was it about 2011, I think? United were in for Varane at that stage, weren't they? I think it was Zinedine Zidane kind of stepped in. He was working behind the scenes at Real Madrid, and he basically got into Varane's ear and told him to go to Real Madrid. So all these years on, like you say, I think we've potentially got the next Varane on our hands. What a coup to get as well. When you think of teams like Real Madrid, we're chasing him. It's great to see. Yeah,
it really is great to see. But what do you expect to see from this game? No doubt about it. If players start to do well, everyone will be like, "Oh, we're back. We're winning the league." And if we do poorly, everyone will be like, "Oh God, it's the same. Why is Ten Hag still manager?" It's pre-season. You got to take everything with a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
If Sancho was to go and score a hat trick and whatever, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, great,
Sancho's back."
Sancho's back. Obviously, that'd be good because we want the players to do well. But you've just got to be calm about everything. The same way you've got to be calm is people will be looking at Leny Yoro with a fine tooth comb today. And if he makes a single mistake, people are like, "Oh no, what have we done?" Like, just be calm. Don't be extreme. Enjoy. Watch. That being said, if like a Yoro does well, I'm going to be like, swivel on that, everyone. He took the mick out of us.
But that's what it is, and I'm sure Ten Hag will be saying to his players, don't go out, it's not going to be a highly competitive game, just go out, take it easy. Maybe he has got a plan, like you were surprised that Yoro was in the starting 11, that you might think at half-time of bringing him off, but...
he'll change the 11 at half-time. They do that in pre-season for these games.
Yeah, but you were surprised because you thought he was going to come on at half-time, but he's actually starting, which it just makes it even... I mean, I want to be watching it anyway, but certainly that just adds extra spice to it because you want to see him in a United shirt and you want to see how he gets on. But yeah, in terms of results in pre-season, I've seen United smash every team in pre-season, then get off to a horrendous start in the Premier League. So in that, I wouldn't be asked, if we lost all the pre-season games, as long as we start the season well. That's the main thing for me.
Well, look at last year, we beat Arsenal in pre-season, then look how well Arsenal did in the league compared to us. So
exactly,
it doesn't mean that much, but you do still want to have a good pre-season. It's about building fitness.
It's exciting, yeah.
Imran says 25-1 to United to win the league. Might stick 50 quid on it.
50 quid.
I'm joking. A
quid.
I don't think there's a chance of that happening, by the way, before anyone says, you said we were going to win the league. No, I don't think we will.
Well,
but I would expect us to compete for top 4. I think we'll get top 4 next season.
Yeah. I think there'll be a lot of Arsenal fans. They were the closest thing to Manchester City last season in terms of a kind of title challenge. But I think even some Arsenal fans will be looking at what the transfer activity that United are doing and thinking, something's cooking there in the old Ineos kitchen over at Old Trafford, because it just makes us stronger. Already Xerxes and Yoro will make us stronger. Ugarte, if he comes in, and I don't think they'll stop there. It really depends on who they can get rid of as well, but it just makes us better, stronger.
And it's really hard to do this, Kev. Super hard to do this. Obviously, in Norway, we had a thrilling game of a 1-0 loss. But what's your score prediction?
Score prediction for today, looking at the team, again, it's so hard to kind of gauge because, like you say, he probably could change 11 players at half-time. I'll go, do you know what? I'm going United 2-0.
2-0.
Always seems like a nice, steady score.
I'm going to go with, I reckon it will be 2-1 to Rangers.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Love the positivity.
No, it's not as I'm being positive. I just think they're ahead of us in terms of. I feel like they would probably be ahead of us in terms of fitness. United are only just building back up.
Yeah.
And I'm not bothered, by the way.
No,
I'm not bothered about the scoreline.
It's nice to be sat here because obviously once the Premier League season kicks off, that's a different ballgame. When we're sat here,
yeah. And I just think, look at the team that we have out and,
And the changes that he could make.
Yeah, the changes we'll have. I'm really optimistic, but I do feel like Rangers will beat us today. But I hope they don't. But to me, I'm generally not that bothered about the scoreline today. I just want to see certain players. I want to see Yoro, want to see Ahmad, want to see, Sancho. You know what? Sack it. Should I change up? Should I change up? I'll do 2-2.
2-2?
2-2. Go 2-2.
Thriller.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for getting all your super chats in. We really do appreciate it. It's great to have you back, Kev.
Yeah.
Looking forward to the season.
I can't wait for it, honestly.
You'll be doing these countdown to kickoffs for all the American games as well, won't you?
Yes, yeah.
I think you're
Community Shield as well coming up. So, yeah, we've got you covered here on the United stand. Back in the van soon for the start of the season.
Oh, so excited.
Yeah,
Can't wait.
I've missed putting that hard hat on and belting my head and shouting, come on United. But the first one of the season, when I do that, I'll be well up for it, man. I'll be like, this is what it's all about.
It's not long now, but everyone, second game of pre-season. Over in Scotland, in Edinburgh, Manchester United versus Rangers. Mark will be live in just a moment to take you through the game for his watch-along. End of the poll was Ugarte 68%, Zubimendi 32%. Hit a like on the video before you go. Come on United, and we will see you on the next one.